Tyke's eyes narrowed as he studied the approaching human vessels through the battlecruiser's massive viewport. His scaled hands clasped behind his back, posture perfect, as befitted a veteran warrior of the Vorn Imperium. The alien ships moved, in formations unlike any he had encountered in his 15 cycles of military service. "Commander Dahl approaches," whispered his subordinate. Tyke straightened further, his crest rising slightly in respect as Commander Dahl stepped beside him. Dahl's battle scars gleamed under the harsh lighting, each mark a badge of honor among their kind. "Your assessment of these humans, Warrior Tyke?" Dahl asked, voice low and rumbling. "They appear to value preservation over victory, Commander," Tyke replied, pointing toward the tactical display. "Notice how their vessels adjust to protect damaged units rather than abandoning them to press attacks." Dahl made a dismissive sound, deep in his throat. "Weakness," he said. "They waste resources protecting the failing rather than allowing natural selection to strengthen their fleet." Tyke nodded in agreement as expected, yet privately felt curious. The Vorn way was absolute. Defeat meant death, and mercy was the ultimate weakness. From childhood, Vorn warriors learned that only through eliminating weakness could their species maintain dominance. The strong survived while the weak perished. This philosophy had carried them across the stars as conquerors for millennia. Human behavior defied this logic. As the ships neared the contested moon of Epsilon 6, Tyke took command of the forward weapons array. Epsilon 6 contained valuable element deposits that both species had claimed. The humans had arrived first, but Vorn philosophy did not recognize first claims, only strongest claims. "All gunners ready," Tyke announced over the ship's communication system. "Target their lead vessels." The first exchange of fire illuminated space between them. Vorn plasma cannons struck 2 human vessels, severely damaging their propulsion systems. Tyke expected the damaged ships to be abandoned as the humans regrouped. Instead, something unexpected happened. "Commander, observe," Tyke said with genuine surprise. "They're forming defensive positions around their damaged vessels." The tactical display showed human ships creating a protective formation, allowing smaller repair craft to reach the damaged vessels. More strangely, the damaged ships continued fighting despite their critical condition. "Fascinating," Tyke murmured, forgetting proper protocol. "They sacrificed tactical advantage for preservation," Commander Dahl growled. "Their sentimentality will be their downfall. Redirect fire to their largest cruiser. Let us test their resolve." The battle continued for several hours. Though the humans eventually retreated, they took all their vessels with them, even the badly damaged ones. The Vorn claimed victory, but with unexpectedly high losses. Something about human tactics defied standard Vorn battle doctrine. That evening, Tyke reviewed battle recordings in his private quarters. The humans showed coordination that seemed almost instinctive. They protected each other while still maintaining effective offensive capabilities. Most puzzling was their apparent unwillingness to sacrifice damaged units for strategic advantage. A chime announced an incoming fleet-wide transmission. Grand Marshal Varuk, the highest military authority of the Vorn Imperium, appeared on all screens. "Warriors of the Imperium," the Grand Marshal began, his voice carrying the weight of countless victories. "Today we encountered a new species calling themselves humans. Their technology is adequate, but their tactics reveal fundamental weakness. They value individual preservation over collective victory." Tyke listened carefully as the Grand Marshal continued. "The High Council has authorized full military action against humanity. Their weakness makes them unworthy of continued existence in contested space. They will fall quickly before our might." Assignment notifications followed the announcement. Tyke received his with a mixture of pride and something unfamiliar, doubt. He had been selected for an elite strike force tasked with planetary assault on a human colony. As his quarters darkened for the sleep cycle, Tyke found himself reviewing the battle records again. The human ships moved with unusual coordination, somehow stronger together than Vorn tactical models predicted they should be. They should have abandoned their damaged vessels, he whispered to himself. Why didn't they? The question troubled him as he prepared for sleep. In 12 prior campaigns, Against alien species, he had never questioned Vorn doctrine. Victory through strength, elimination of weakness. These principles had always seemed absolute. Yet something about these humans lingered in his thoughts as sleep overtook him. Their apparent weakness in showing mercy might hide something the Vorn had never considered, a different kind of strength. Tomorrow would bring preparation for invasion. But tonight, for the first time in his military career, Tyke dreamed of questions rather than conquest. Flames painted the night sky orange as Vorn dropships cut through the atmosphere of Proxima Centauri 4. The human colony, a settlement of roughly 10,000 people, had little warning before the invasion began. Fire rained from above as Tyke's elite squad descended in the first wave. Tyke landed with practiced ease, his armored feet making a heavy thud on the colony's main road. He activated his energy blade, its purple glow casting eerie shadows across his scaled face. 5 warriors flanked him, each armed with plasma rifles and blade weapons. "Forward to the command center," Tyke ordered. "No survivors." The squad moved with deadly efficiency through the streets. Screams filled the air as colonists fled. Occasional resistance came from local security forces, but their weapons proved ineffective against Vorn battle armor. Across the settlement, Staff Sergeant Jiwoo of the Terran Defense Force worked urgently to organize what few soldiers had been stationed at the colony. Unlike typical military officers, she wore simple armor with minimal markings of rank, practicality over ceremony. "Park, get those civilians to Bunker 3, she shouted to a young soldier. "Juan, set up heavy weapons at the intersection." Jiwoo moved constantly between the frontline defenses and the civilian evacuation points. Her dark hair was tied back, tightly, face smudged with dirt and sweat as she helped an elderly man onto an evacuation transport. "How long until the ships are loaded?" she asked her communications officer. 15 minutes minimum, Sergeant," came the reply. Jiwoo checked her weapon. "Then we hold for 15 minutes. She tapped her tactical comm unit. "All units, hold position at the North Ridge. Civilian transports need 3 more minutes for the first wave. Make every shot count." Tyke heard the human communications as his squad intercepted them through their translation systems. He adjusted his approach, leading his warriors toward the North Ridge, where the main evacuation seemed to be happening. "The humans prioritize their weak," he told his squad. "We will use this against them." They moved through side streets, avoiding the main defensive positions. When they emerged near the evacuation zone, they found a group of about 20 civilians rushing toward a bunker entrance, mostly elderly humans and children. Suddenly, a lone figure stepped between Tyke's squad and the fleeing civilians. "Staff." Sergeant Jiwoo stood her ground, weapon raised. The civilians continued their escape behind her. "Get inside," she shouted to them without taking her eyes off the Vorn warriors. Tyke studied the human female with curiosity. She was smaller than him by at least a head, yet showed no fear. Her stance was balanced, her weapon held with the steadiness of experience. "You can't win this fight," Tyke declared in the universal trade language. His translator made his voice sound flat and mechanical. Jiwoo's eyes narrowed as she assessed the 6 Vorn warriors before her. "I don't need to win," she replied, firing with remarkable accuracy at the warrior to Tyke's right. The shot found a gap in the armor at the neck joint, and the warrior fell. "I just need to buy time." Tyke was momentarily stunned by her precision and tactically sound response. Then training took over. "Take her down," he ordered. The battle was fierce but brief. Jiwoo fought with surprising intelligence, using the environment to her advantage. She fired selectively, each shot carefully placed. When her weapon's charge depleted, she switched to a blade and continued fighting. 2 more of Tyke's warriors fell to her attacks, one from a shot that somehow penetrated his visor, another from a thrown explosive that detonated against his air supply. "She fights with honor," remarked one of Tyke's remaining warriors with surprise. Tyke did not respond, focused entirely on the battle. The human fought differently than expected, not with desperation, but with calculated precision. She did not waste energy on impossible attacks, but focused on creating maximum delay with minimum effort. Eventually, they cornered her against the bunker entrance. Blood streaked down her face from a cut above her eye. Her breathing was labored, and her left arm hung awkwardly, likely broken from a blow. "You fought well," Tyke acknowledged as he approached, energy blade humming. "Not done fighting," Jiwoo replied through gritted teeth. Take raised his blade for the killing strike. In Vorn culture, a quick death was the highest respect one could show a worthy opponent. As his arm began its downward arc, the ground suddenly shook with explosions. From beyond the ridge, 6 human combat mechs appeared, weapons already firing. Reinforcements had arrived. "Squad, retreat to position Beta," Tyke ordered, narrowly avoiding a barrage of heavy weapons fire. As they withdrew, strategically Tyke glanced back once. Jiwoo remained standing at the bunker entrance, now joined by the newly arrived human forces. Their eyes met briefly across the battlefield. Something passed between them in that moment, a recognition that transcended species. Not friendship, not even respect yet, but acknowledgement of something unexpected. As Tyke disappeared into the smoke of battle, he realized the Grand Marshal had been wrong about one thing: these humans would not fall quickly. Consciousness returned to Tyke slowly, like swimming up through dark water. First came pain, sharp and pulsing through his left side, then sound, the soft beeping of unfamiliar equipment. Finally, light as his inner eyelids slid open. A sterile, white ceiling greeted him. The air smelled strange, clean but with unfamiliar chemicals. Tyke tried to move but found his limbs unusually heavy. When he managed to lift his head slightly, he saw his torso wrapped in white bandages where a human weapon had struck him during the battle. Memory flooded back, the human reinforcements, the explosion that had thrown him against a building, the darkness that followed. He was captured. Cold dread filled Tyke's chest. By Vorn standards, this fate was worse than death. Their military doctrine was absolute. Warriors fought to victory or death. Capture meant failure. In Vorn history, captured warriors were tortured for information, then executed, often by their own rescue parties to eliminate the shame they represented. Tyke tried to reach for the ceremonial poison capsule embedded in his back tooth, but found his arms restrained by soft but effective bindings. He could not even grant himself an honorable death. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Tyke tensed, preparing for interrogation or torture. Instead, a human male in a white coat entered, studying a small electronic tablet. "Ah, you're awake," the human said, approaching cautiously but without obvious fear. "I'm Dr. Sunho. How is your pain level? Blink once for manageable, twice for severe." Tyke stared in confusion. The question made no sense. Pain was irrelevant. Information was what captors wanted. After a moment of silence, the human approached a machine beside Tyke's bed. "Your vital signs suggest discomfort. I'll adjust your medication." Tyke watched as the human adjusted something on the machine. Within minutes, the pain in his side dulled noticeably. "Why?" Tyke managed to ask, his translator device apparently still functional. "Why what?" Dr. Sunho asked. "Why treat my wounds? Why ease pain? I am your enemy." The doctor seemed genuinely puzzled by the question. "You're a patient in my medical facility. Enemy or not, you require treatment." For 3 days, this pattern continued. The human doctor visited regularly, checking Tyke's wounds, adjusting medications, even bringing food suitable for Vorn physiology. Tyke observed that his private room, while clearly a secure containment cell, had been modified for his comfort. The temperature adjusted to Vorn preference, the lighting dimmed to ease his sensitive eyes. Through the room's single window, Tyke could see other medical units. He realized with growing confusion that he was being treated in the same facility as injured humans. During one visit, Tyke finally asked directly, "Why waste resources on an enemy?" Dr. Sunho looked up from changing the bandage on Tyke's side. The wound was healing well, faster than it would have without treatment. "We don't see it as waste," Sunho replied simply. "Explain," Tyke demanded. The doctor considered for a moment. "Medicine isn't about who deserves care. It's about providing care to those who need it." He gestured toward Tyke's wound. "Your biology is fascinating, by the way. Your tissue regeneration is remarkable when properly supported. Tyke found himself engaged in conversation about Vorn physiology. The doctor's questions were purely medical, not seeking military information. This approach to an enemy prisoner violated everything Tyke understood about warfare. On the 7th day of his captivity, the door opened to reveal a familiar face. Staff Sergeant Jiwoo entered, still showing signs of their battle, a healing cut above her eye, her left arm in a support brace. Tyke's crest rose slightly in recognition. This human had fought with unexpected skill. By Vorn standards, she had earned the right to kill him personally. "You've recovered well," she said, pulling a chair to sit near, but not too near his bed. "Why am I alive?" Tyke asked directly. "Standard protocol for prisoners of war," Jiwoo answered. "Prisoners are sources of information, then eliminated." Tyke stated what he knew to be universal truth. Jiwoo shook her head. "Not how we operate. We have laws about treating prisoners. Rules of engagement older than our space travel. Your mercy is weakness." Tyke responded automatically, repeating what every Vorn warrior learned from childhood. Jiwoo studied him for a long moment, her dark eyes unreadable. "Is it?" she finally asked. "It takes more strength to control power than to use it without restraint." The concept was so foreign that Tyke's translator hesitated before processing it. "Explain." "Any creature can kill when it has the advantage," Jiwoo said. "It requires no special strength or wisdom, but choosing not to kill, that requires discipline, foresight, and true confidence in one's position." Tyke found himself without immediate response. The idea contradicted everything he had been taught, yet contained a logic he couldn't immediately dismiss. "Your wound will be fully healed soon," Jiwoo continued. "Then you'll be moved to more permanent quarters. You'll be treated according to interstellar conventions on prisoners of war." "And then?" Tyke asked. "That depends partly on how the conflict develops, and partly on you," Jiwoo answered. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. "Think about something, Tyke. In our battle, I could have used explosives that would have killed your entire squad. I chose not to. Which requires more tactical skill, destroying an enemy completely or achieving your objective while minimizing casualties?" She left Tyke with that question echoing in his mind, challenging the foundations of everything he had ever believed about warfare, strength, and survival. The prisoner quarters were more spacious than Tyke had expected. A simple bed, desk, chair, and private washing facility. The room was secure, energy fields instead of physical bars, but not uncomfortable. 3 weeks had passed since his capture at the human colony. Each day followed a pattern. Meals arrived at regular intervals. Human guards conducted respectful but thorough security checks. Most surprising was the arrival of educational materials, tablets containing information about human history, culture, and philosophy. At first, Tyke refused to engage with the human knowledge. It was surely propaganda. But boredom eventually won out. He began reading accounts of Earth's history, expecting to find evidence of human weakness. Instead, he discovered something unexpected. Humans had once been remarkably similar to the Vorn. They fought constant wars, Tyke muttered to himself, scrolling through accounts of human conflicts spanning thousands of years. They conquered, enslaved, exterminated their enemies. Yet something had changed in their development. Unlike the Vorn, who maintained their warrior culture as they expanded to the stars, humans had gradually established rules for warfare, limiting suffering, protecting non-combatants, treating prisoners humanely. "Sergeant Jiwoo requests to speak with you," announced a guard one morning. Tyke nodded his agreement. Their conversations had become regular. She brought questions about Vorn culture but never pressed for military information. "I've been studying your history," Tyke said when she arrived. "Your species was once like mine." Jiwoo sat across from him. "We still can be, but we learned some lessons the hard way." "You believe your current approach is superior?" Tyke asked. "I believe it's more sustainable," she replied. "Total war produces only destruction. Eventually, we realized survival required cooperation as much as competition. Their conversation shifted to Tyke's background. Without intending to, he found himself describing his upbringing. The weak are culled early, he explained. Children who cannot meet physical standards are eliminated from the breeding population. He described the ritual scarring that marked each kill, the lines that covered much of his own body. He spoke of the execution ceremonies for captured, foreign warriors who had failed their people by being taken alive. By your customs, I should be dead, he concluded. Do you wish you were? Jiwoo asked without judgment. Tyke had no answer. That night, in the quiet of his quarters, memories surfaced that he had long suppressed. His clutch brother, smaller than the others, taken away during the first culling. The faces of defeated enemies as he delivered killing blows. The public execution of his own commander, captured during Tyke's fourth campaign and returned in a prisoner exchange only to face immediate death for his failure. Had there always been this much death in his life? Sleep came uneasily. Sometime, in the station's night cycle, Tyke woke to a sound that chilled his blood, the distinctive high-pitched whine of Vorn plasma cannons. Alarms blared throughout the facility. The energy field containing him flickered and died as power systems failed. Emergency lights cast red shadows across his quarters. Attention all personnel, came an announcement through the station's speakers. Evacuation protocol initiated. Proceed to emergency transports. Tyke stepped cautiously into the corridor. Smoke filled the air. The Vorn had come, not to rescue him but likely to destroy the facility and any captured warriors who had disgraced themselves by surviving defeat. He moved through the chaos, instinct telling him to find an escape pod. Around him, humans rushed, in organized patterns helping the injured, maintaining order despite the attack. Turning a corner, Tyke froze at the scene before him. A section of ceiling had collapsed, trapping someone beneath the debris. Even in the dim emergency lighting, he recognized Sergeant Jiwoo. Her leg was pinned, face tight with pain as she tried to free herself. More chilling was what approached her. A Vorn warrior in full battle armor, weapon raised. The warrior hadn't noticed Tyke yet, focused entirely on the trapped human. Tyke knew the protocol. The warrior would kill the human, then likely kill Tyke as well for the dishonor of capture. It was the Vorn way, the way Tyke had followed his entire life. In that moment, everything Tyke had learned in the past weeks crystallized into a single choice. He moved with the silent speed that had made him an elite warrior. The other Vorn barely registered his presence before Tyke struck, targeting the weak points in standard Vorn armor that every warrior knew, but never expected to be used against them. The warrior fell without a sound, stunned rather than killed, by Tyke's precise strikes. Jiwoo stared in shock as Tyke lifted the debris pinning her leg. Can you walk? He asked. With help, she managed, wincing as she tested her injured leg. Supporting her weight, Tyke guided them toward the evacuation. Fruit. Another explosion rocked the station. Why? Jiwoo asked as they hurried through the corridors. Why help me? That was your chance to return to your people. Tyke was silent for several steps, organizing thoughts that challenged everything he had ever known. I'm beginning to understand, he finally answered, that there might be strength in what I once thought weakness. As they reached the evacuation transports, Tyke made another choice that would forever alter his path. He stepped aboard the human vessel, leaving behind not just the destroyed station but the certainties that had defined his existence. One full solar cycle had passed since Tyke had made the decision that changed everything. The small room in the Terran Alliance headquarters felt too bright, too warm for Vorn comfort, but Tyke had grown accustomed to human environments. He sat straight-backed across from Supreme Commander Han, the highest-ranking military official in the Terran Alliance. Han was older than most active human military, with gray hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of both stress and laughter. Her uniform bore minimal decoration despite her rank, practical like most human military gear. You understand we cannot trust you completely, Han stated plainly, her eyes steady on Tyke's alien features. I would not respect you if you did, Tyke replied. The past year had taught him to appreciate human directness. But I offer what knowledge I have of Vorn tactics. Han nodded slowly. Your information has already saved lives on both sides. The question remains, what do we do with you long term? The answer came in the form of an unusual assignment. Tyke became what humans called a cultural liaison, an interpreter of Vorn psychology and military doctrine. He helped human negotiators understand the complex honor codes that drove Vorn decision-making. In return, he learned more about the strange human concept of sustainable peace. 4 months later, an opportunity arose that no one had anticipated. The ongoing border conflicts had escalated to the point where both sides recognized the cost was becoming unsustainable. A diplomatic channel opened, and Tyke was asked to join the human delegation. The neutral meeting ground was a space station orbiting a gas giant, territory claimed by neither species. Tyke felt strange wearing the modified human uniform, marked, with special insignia indicating his unique status. Walking into the conference room, Tyke came face to face with his past. Commander Dahl, now promoted to High Commander, led the Vorn delegation. His crest rose in anger at the sight of Tyke. Traitor, Dahl snarled in their native language, the translator rendering it for the humans present. You dishonor the Imperium with your continued existence. The human diplomats tensed, but Tyke remained calm. He had anticipated this reaction. I have learned what you have not, Tyke responded, speaking clearly for all to hear, that cooperation creates strength beyond what conquest can achieve. The negotiations were difficult, marked by deep cultural misunderstandings. Tyke found himself constantly translating not just words, but concepts between the species. The humans struggled to understand the depth of Vorn honor codes. The Vorn could not comprehend why humans valued preservation of life over victory. Progress came slowly, until an unexpected threat emerged. The first attacks hit both human and Vorn outposts. Simultaneously, a third species, the hive-minded Krell, had emerged from a nearby star system. Ancient enemies of the Vorn, the insectoid Krell recognized no concept of individual life, operating as unified colonies that consumed all resources in their path. They will not negotiate, Tech explained to the human delegation. They do not recognize other species as truly alive. Faced with a common enemy, the impossible happened. A temporary alliance formed between humans and Vorn. Tyke found himself in the extraordinary position of helping coordinate joint military operations. On the front lines of the first major engagement against the Krell, Tyke fought alongside humans. Sergeant Jiwoo, now Lieutenant Jiwoo, commanded one of the mixed species defense units. Their fighting styles complemented each other perfectly, Vorn's strength and humans' adaptability creating something neither could achieve alone. The battle was hard won. The Krell assault craft fell back, their hive mind apparently reassessing the unexpected cooperation of their prey. In the aftermath, something even more remarkable occurred. A group of younger Vorn warriors approached Tyke cautiously. They had fought alongside humans and witnessed effectiveness that contradicted everything their training had taught them. How do they fight so well while protecting their weak? One young warrior asked, genuinely confused. Tyke looked across their faces and saw something rare among his people. Curiosity. Not hatred or blind adherence to doctrine, but actual questioning. Gather, he told them, and they formed a circle away from the main camp. I once believed as you do, Tyke told the small gathering, that mercy meant weakness and compassion meant vulnerability. I was wrong. He pointed to the battlefield where humans were treating injured Vorn with the same care given to their own. Look there. What do you see? Waste of resources. One warrior answered automatically. No, Tyke corrected. You see something the Krell cannot understand. Cooperation. That makes both species stronger. I have discovered that restraint requires greater courage than cruelty, and understanding yields more victory than blind conquest. As night fell on the battlefield, Tyke stood beside Lieutenant Jiwoo, watching Vorn and humans working together to secure their position. Do you think it will last? Jiwoo asked quietly. This alliance? Tyke considered carefully before answering. The path will not be straight or easy, But today I saw Vorn warriors asking questions they would never have considered before. He looked up at the stars visible through the planet's thin atmosphere. It is, I believe, the beginning of transformation. Not just for me, but perhaps for both our peoples. The end.